Okay, so are we recording? All right, awesome. Welcome back, listeners. I am so excited for this one
Mine too.
because today we're diving deep, really deep,
Eek, deep.
into some, well, let's be honest, kind of out there ideas
Yeah.
from, the former president.
Yeah, I think out there is putting it mildly.
It really is. We're talking about, like, annexing Greenland.
As you do.
Oh, and taking back the Panama
I don't
Canal,
think it's a library book.
and get this, absorbing Canada.
The whole thing.
The whole shebang.
Yeah.
Like, making it part of the U.S.
Wow.
I know, right? So our main source for this deep dive is an article we found called "Get Ready for This: Trump's World Takeover, Greenland, Canada, and a Bit of Trolling."
Catchy.
Right, and you might be thinking, okay, why should I care about this? Well, because it's fascinating to try and understand how a major political figure, a former president no less, thinks. Right, like what are the motivations behind these statements, and how do these grand ambitions, let's call them, actually impact the global stage?
And it's worth noting that even though these pronouncements may seem a little far-fetched,
Yeah, that one word for it.
they do offer a glimpse, right, into how Trump sees the world, sees America's role in it.
Okay, so let's start with this Greenland obsession. The article talks about, like, Trump's fascination with Greenland, like going back to his early days in the White House.
It's a recurring theme for sure.
Oh, yeah. And there are quotes about Greenland being like a defense necessity. He even like hinted at military action against Denmark if they wouldn't, just hand it over.
Just hand it over.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Military action against a NATO ally. Seriously.
Yeah, I think that raises some questions, let's say, about his grasp of international diplomacy.
Yeah, I think. I mean, strategically, I guess I can see the appeal.
Right.
Greenland, its location in the North Atlantic, the resources, the potential for like military bases.
Sure, sure. But any attempt to grab it, that would have huge consequences. I mean, think about it. NATO could fracture.
Yeah.
Relations with Europe damaged.
Yeah.
And, who else has big interests in the Arctic?
Russia.
Exactly. So we could even like accidentally kick off a whole new Cold War.
Okay. So maybe not the best idea.
Not to mention, Denmark has said, like, flat out, Greenland is not for sale.
Oh, they have. I totally forgot about that. And this is hilarious. Remember when Don Jr. went to Nuuk?
The capital.
Yeah, yeah. Like some people actually thought it was like a reconnaissance mission.
That scouting trip.
Seriously. Like, was Trump actually serious about this whole Greenland thing?
Well, it's hard to say.
I know, right?
But I mean, the constant interest, right? And knowing Trump, his what's the word?
Impulsive.
Impulsive, yeah.
Hey, Lima.
His impulsive, unconventional style. Right. I mean, it suggests it might have been more than just a passing thought.
So, okay, Greenland, maybe not happening. But then there's the Panama Canal. Trump, he wasn't a fan of Jimmy Carter giving the canal back to Panama.
That was back in the 70s.
Right, way back. Trump, he calls it like a national security risk, especially with China getting all up in the region.
China is definitely making moves in Latin America. That's undeniable. And the U.S. is paying attention for sure. But Trump's solution, grabbing the canal back, I mean, it's not only totally impractical, it could be a disaster.
Right. It's not like we can just, march in and say, Panama, give us back our canal.
Exactly. For starters, it would break international law. Panama's a key ally, remember, we'd lose them.
Oh, yeah.
And tensions with China, those would skyrocket. Plus, Panama, they've put a ton of work into modernizing that canal. They're not just going to hand over the keys.
It's almost like he's, I don't know, stuck in like the era of gunboat diplomacy or something.
It really does feel that way sometimes. The world has changed. International relations are a little more complicated these days.
Amen to that. But okay, we've got Greenland, we've got Panama, and then there's Canada. Trump's got this interesting relationship with our neighbors to the north.
Interesting is one way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, calling Trudeau, Governor Trudeau, and joking about Canadians wanting to become the 51st state.
Uh-huh.
Go on. What's going on there?
Well, you could say it's, just Trump being Trump.
Sure, sure.
But even if it's meant to be a joke, right, these comments, they do damage.
Diplomatic relations, you mean?
Exactly. It breeds this atmosphere of, distrust. Like, hey, we don't respect you, which then makes it tough to work together on things that matter, like trade, security, you name it.
And let's be real, Trudeau has said, loud and clear, Canada is not interested in becoming part of the U.S.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, who would want to give up universal health care and what's that delicious Canadian dish?
Poutine.
Yes. Poutine. Okay, so let's circle back. Is Trump like a strategic genius playing four-dimensional chess? Or is he just like, a troll who lives stirring the pot?
Well, the article suggests both, right?
It does. It does.
And honestly, I think it's probably a mix of both.
Really?
Yeah, on the one hand, he sees himself as the strong leader, right?
Hmm.
Someone who's not afraid to shake things up, to show off American power.
And on the other hand,
He loves pushing buttons. He likes disrupting the whole diplomatic scene.
whether it actually works for the U.S. or not is a different story.
A whole other debate.
It really is.
Yeah.
Speaking of disrupting things, the article also talks about Trump's, well, his thing with renaming things. Remember when he wanted to change Denali back to Mount McKinley?
And calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot about that one. What is that about?
Again, I think it's this idea of like projecting American dominance, trying to remake the world in his image, like a symbolic way to say America is exceptional, even if it comes across as kind of silly to a lot of people.
So, okay, big picture. What's the takeaway for our listeners?
Even if they're just words, right? Trump's pronouncements give us clues, right, to his worldview, to how he sees foreign policy. They show his tendency towards, doing things alone, his disregard for the whole international rule book, and his belief in the power of disruption.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.